Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to yet another episode of all that I've learned from Tony Robbins over the years. It's very early in the morning here in Sydney town. It's just after 5 a.m. and it's the dawn of a brand new day. It's the commencement of something brand new, something that we haven't done or been to before. And nobody knows what's going to happen today, but it's all going to unfold in front of our eyes, and we just need to make the most of it and to live our purpose wherever we can, to express our calling or callings, and to be a better person today than what we were yesterday, and to keep on growing, to keep on developing, to keep on expanding, so that we're feeling fulfilled with our lives. Because Tony Robbins made a very profound statement at the most recent UPW, where he said that if you're content with your life, if you can find contentment, if you are fulfilled with your life, if you're happy with who you are, then you've basically got everything. He said that that is the rarest thing in the universe, to find somebody who is living a life and is happy, is content, is fulfilled with what he's doing or she is doing, and simply are thankful for what they have. They glorify God with all their heart, mind and soul. They serve God with everything they do. They do things which are God pleasing, and they serve and love one another. They love their neighbour as they love themselves. Whilst it may sound pretty corny to some people, at the end of the day, the most beautiful thing in the world is to be at peace with the world, to be able to engage in the world, but to feel the peace and the love of God, and to be a partner in his creation and a co-worker, a co-servant, to serve God just like God serves us, just like Jesus serves humanity, and to help one another so that we can all grow and develop, we can all expand, and we can all feel God's love expressed in what we do to our family, to our friends, and to our communities. So a very, very powerful start to the day. And Tony Robbins also says that if you're not currently happy, if you're not fulfilled with your life, if you're not grateful for all the things that you've had, because regardless of how bad one sees their life, it's only bad because that's what they're focusing on at the moment. You know, there is nothing new in the world, it's just new to us. So if you're feeling unfulfilled, then you need to try and understand the root of that challenge that you've got, because we've all lived a fantastic life. Yes, there's been crappy parts. Yes, there have been challenges. But Tony Robbins reminds us that the majority of the decisions that we've made, the majority of our life that we've lived has been pretty good. It's only that we're not focusing on the good parts and just focusing on the other parts and giving weighting to those other parts that cause us to be depressed, cause us to be anxious, cause us to be unhappy. But everybody is invited to focus on the good things in their life. And one of the practices that Anthony Robbins invites people to do is to do a daily prep session, a priming session, where you can kick off your day in a positive way by showing gratitude for all of the things that you first have, rather than focusing on the things that you don't have. To thank the people in your life that have made your life so beautiful, and to forgive those in your life that may not be as productive or as positive as they can be, but to understand that everybody's going through a different season, through a different phase, through a different chapter of their lives, and we're not all living the same life, because we're all going to have had a different past. We're all experiencing right now, at this instant, a different present. I am here, you're somewhere else. You could be asleep at the moment, and we're all going to have a different future. But we're all invited to live and to do the best we can with the God-given gifts that we have available to us, and other gifts that we have yet to discover. But it all takes personal exertion, it takes hope, it takes love, and it takes belief in God and belief in yourself, and knowing that we can only do what God wills us to do, but we need to do something so that we can see if we're on track, off track, if it's working for us, it's not working for us, and to make the necessary adjustments along the way. And Anthony Robbins, in his UPW, in his books, in his tapes, talks about a thing called the ultimate success formula. And the ultimate success formula is simply a process. And we need to believe, and we need to trust a process. And a process is basically just a scientific way of identifying the steps that we need to do in order to replicate certain outcomes in a consistent way. So you can live life haphazardly, you can be spontaneous, you can do things, you can make decisions on the run, but each of those decisions, each of those actions, we need to understand, will also come with a first, second, and third level consequence. And each of those consequences can be either positive or negative. They can be significantly positive or significantly negative, because all the consequences also have different weightings. You know, when we do something, when we push back on something, or when we push to do something, yes, we'll get an outcome. And we need to just sit and reflect and to check in to see if that outcome is what we desire, what we expected, based on what we did, knowing very well that we live in a complex and complicated and ever-changing world, when sometimes it's hard to predict the exact outcome. And we also live in a thing called lag time. Anthony Robbins talks about the fact that we live in lag time. So all the decisions that we make may have a lag time between when you invest in that decision, or when you act on a decision, and when you get payback, or when you see the outcomes. And Anthony Robbins, over the years, has used a wonderful example. in terms of getting an understanding of how lag time operates from a success formula perspective. And he's used the bamboo tree example. And quite a few motivational speakers and peak performance specialists talk about this bamboo tree example. And he says that when you plant bamboo, you dig the soil, you plant the first seedling of this bamboo tree, and it's not all bamboo trees, it's a specific type of bamboo tree. And he says that you water it, you fertilise it, you look after it. But for the first 3 years, nothing happens to that bamboo tree. You see it, it's small, and it still looks like a seedling. But what Anthony Robbins says is that what you don't see, what you don't have access to seeing, is that below the surface, that bamboo shoot, that little seedling, is building a massive and very, very complex network of roots. So it spends the first 3 years growing out of sight, growing internally, and to the untrained eye, you see that seedling in the ground there and you go, well, that's not doing very, very much. And you just disregard it. You write it off as being a waste of time, a waste of energy, and something that's not going to amount to very much. And you know where I'm heading here. Just like a lot of people are developing internally. They're making decisions on a daily basis. They're reading books. They're gaining knowledge. They're gaining wisdom. And all of that is being stored internally. They're having a field day internally in terms of their thinking, their planning, their dreaming. And just like the bamboo tree, this little bamboo shoot, all of the activity, all of the growth, all of the expansion is happening out of sight. It's happening underground. And Anthony Robbins then says that after about 3 years of this seemingly uninteresting and uneventful growth and development in this seedling, in a matter of 6 months, the growth explodes upwards and out of the ground. And in 6 months, then you've got some massive bamboo trees, and you wonder, where did all these things come from? And similarly, the same thing happens with people. We have this exponential growth. And this is where Anthony Robbins also uses the example, saying that most people will overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but totally underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years because of this lag time in growth and development. So what you need to do, and what Anthony Robbins invites people to do, is to believe and trust the process, and to know that the process does work, as long as it is part of your fate and it's meant to be and God wills it. If you invest time in particular processes, then sooner or later you're going to have explosive growth, explosive outcomes, which hopefully will be fruitful, so that they can make you wealthy and rich. And by you becoming wealthy and rich, you can take that wealth and richness and share it with others, knowing very well that others around us, our children, are also experiencing their version of lag time in terms of their growth and development. In my life, I've seen many examples where parents pass away, thinking that their children are not going to achieve all that much in their life and are going to end up in jail or going to be troublesome, not get married, not have children. But it's amazing that, given a few years, even the most troublesome of people can become very, very productive and end up working a great job, marrying a fantastic partner, starting a great family, and being an example to others in terms of what is possible, what is capable. And I say to myself, that parent or those parents who passed away may have missed out on seeing the best of their children, but I'm sure that in their hearts they always have hope, and parents always have hope for their children. And humans are ingenious. You just never know what happens to a person when the flick of the switch happens and they take charge of their lives and they grow and develop and expand and express themselves in ways that you never thought possible. The other interesting thing that I've learnt over the years is that, whilst many teenagers have challenging years as teenagers, when a person gets to about 30, that's when their mind, their brain has developed fully, and science informs us that when you're at the age of 30, that's when you're capable of being able to assess and reflect and make decisions, knowing full well what the first, second and third level consequences of those actions will be. And interestingly enough, Jesus commenced his earthly mission when he turned 30 years of age, because that's where the Jewish tradition sees that a person has reached maturity and has become an adult. I had an uncle of mine, a very, very wise man, and I learnt a lot from him. And he had a very colourful life, to say the least. Much more colourful, much more colourful than my life will ever be. And he said many, many years ago that when we talked about age and how old people are, and he says, James, you need to understand one thing. There are two ages. There are people who are under 30, and there are people who are over 30, and all people who are over 30 are the same age. And I remember how profound that was back then, and now that I'm 63, I look back over my life and I kind of understand now where he was coming from. You can have people at 35 who are really, really old and have given up on life, and you can have people at 63 who get up every morning and see life as a new opportunity. The opportunity of a lifetime comes once or twice a day for them, and they look to make the most of every day of their lives, and are childlike in many ways. They're curious and they enjoy every step of the way. So some powerful lessons there, and where I'm getting to, and I'll eventually get there, is that Tony Robbins talks about this thing called the process, and we mustn't give up on the process, and you just don't know how somebody's going to turn out. And whilst we have people who you write off at a young age, thinking that they're going to spend their time in jail and become troublesome in their adulthood. My spiritual leader always says, and I've gone to him with some problems and challenges about people in my family, extended family, who are having their challenges, and he says, James, don't worry too much about other people. You need to invest and focus on yourself to become the best you can possibly be, and by all means pray and be the best possible example you can be to your family and friends, because one day that person who you're worried about will hit a low, and God will take over and help them. And he says that other person who you're worried about and who you're concerned about may end up becoming a better Christian than what you are. So focus on yourself. By all means, pray to God to help these people who are having challenges, knowing very well that these challenges are temporary, they're not permanent. Sooner or later, people, or most people, wake up, but they need to do it their way. They need to do it the hard way in some ways. They need to take the road less travelled so that they can learn the bitter lesson, the important lesson for themselves. And that's why God gives us a lifetime, to give us an opportunity to find ourselves, find our way, to find God, and to find peace in our world, in our minds, in our lives, in our family, and to be the beacon of hope, as we mentioned before. So let's just move on. And we talked about the importance of getting to a certain age, and that life can change if you change. And as my manager Greg Gleason would always say, if you change, guess what? If you change, he said, your whole world will change for you. And this is another powerful thing that Tony Robbins reminds us about, that if you change the way you see the world, if you change the way you behave, if you change the things you focus on, then your whole world is going to change, and not just change, it's going to dramatically change in ways that you never thought possible. And you'll discover new things. And as Tony Robbins always says, there's nothing new in the world. It's just new to you because you have decided to change your focus. And that change in focus is going to open up and manifest things that were always there, but you never knew they were there because you weren't looking there or looking for them. But once you stimulate and activate your reticular activating system, then all of the things that you focus on will become your reality, will become manifest in your world, and it will be magical. It'll appear magical, but it only will become magical because you have decided to focus on it. You have decided to open your mind, your brain, your heart to these new things that you want to attract into your life. So once again, life is interesting, and things change, and we grow and we expand, and hopefully we can become like that bamboo tree in a positive way, so that we can expand and grow, and the consequences of our decisions and actions can be great and manifold. but in a positive way. So Anthony Robbins talks about, once again, this success formula, the ultimate success formula, which simply is a 5-step formula. It's not rocket science, but it is rocket science to many who hadn't quite considered the science of achievement. And he says the first thing that we need to do is to focus and to articulate and to visualize and decide what outcome we're trying to achieve. Back in '94, I remember going to Anthony Robbins, and he talked about the importance of sitting and visualizing and thinking about who your ideal partner is. What do they look like? What sort of thoughts do they have? Who they are, where they live, and all the detail elements about them. So to try and visualize it and think about who that ideal person is. And then he said, something really profound and something that I really love actually. He says, then you need to ask yourself, in terms of who your ideal partner is, what sort of lifestyle do they currently have? Where do they hang out? What do they do? And then he said, you need to also ask yourself, for that ideal partner that you're looking for, who is their ideal partner? And to try and understand, whilst they may be your ideal partner, who are they looking for? And these are very, very profound and confronting sort of questions, because what he's alluding to is that the person who is ideal in your mind also has an ideal in their mind. And he says, what do you need to do? Who do you need to become in order to be that ideal partner for them? And where do you have to be? And what sort of circles do you need to frequent and hang out with and be with in order to attract that person into your life? And whilst it sounds a little bit funny and fanciful, what it actually is an exercise of you trying to figure out what you're looking for. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, even though you find it, you may not see it. So it's important to understand what is your outcome. And as Anthony Robbins alludes to be able to clearly and unambiguously know what you're looking for. So when that person crosses your path, you identify that they are the one. But by the same token, doesn't matter if they are the one for you, you also need to work on yourself so that you are the one for them. It's profound, it's really, really powerful. And then Anthony Robbins talks about the fact that once you're able to crystallize in your own mind and to focus on what you're looking for, you then need to understand and have a compelling why. Why is that the case? Why is that the person? Why is that something that you desire and need in your life? And it's got to be a selfless desire as opposed to a selfish one. It's got to be something that is going to be God-pleasing. It's got to be serving. It's got to be full of love and with the right intention, because we need to live life with positive expectancy and not to be selfish in all the things we do, but to do it through love. So having a powerful and a compelling why is critical to the success formula in order for it to be sustainable and replicable. And then Anthony Robbins follows up saying the third element of the ultimate success formula is to take action, to take massive action, because it's only through taking massive action that you're able to build momentum and to get massive results, knowing very well that the massive results could be massive positive results which get you closer to where you want to go, or they could be massive negative results which get you further away from your goal. But you need to check in and just make sure that you're getting closer or you're getting further. If you're getting further, then you adjust your actions, you adjust your approach, you think about what you're doing and you make adjustments, and then you check in again to see if you're getting closer or further, hotter or colder, as we used to play as a game as kids. So you need to keep on making those small adjustments in order to get closer to your outcome. So the fourth element in the ultimate success formula from Anthony Robbins is where you need to know what you're getting. And this is the process of checking in and seeing what you're doing, what you're getting, and as we mentioned before, to see if you're on track or off track, and then to adjust where you're going and how you're getting there. And the last element, number 5, is to change your approach if you're not getting the outcomes that you desire. So the important thing is to have very strong and fixed goals, but most importantly to be flexible in your approach. As Bruce Lee would always say, we need to be like water, and water is flexible and can get in and around, over, under, and through all of the barriers, all of the potholes, all of the humps, and all of the challenges that it faces. So there we go. Once again, a very simple formula known as the ultimate success formula that Anthony Robbins talks about. And in summary, once again, it's all about focus. What you focus on is what you get. You need to know your outcome. And then once you know your outcome, once you've been able to focus on it, to articulate it, to taste it, to smell it, to feel it, then you need a powerful, resounding why in order to push you and pull you to where you need to go. Because if you've got a strong why, then the how is easy. And I remember years ago hearing somebody say, you can't stop a person who knows where they're going. And the reason why you can't stop them is that they've got a powerful why. And that why keeps them going. That why keeps them moving. That why keeps fueling them with the desire and the energy to keep on going. So give yourself the gift of why, and you will have all the fuel you need to keep on going. It'll keep you up late at night. It'll get you up early in the morning. The trick is to trigger the right and powerful and resounding why in your life. But all the whys in the world all the outcomes that you've been able to visualize will amount to nothing unless you take massive, consistent action. If you don't take any action, then chances are, I'm not saying it won't happen, but chances are that things will not manifest in your world and in your life. And as we said, God wants you to have a good life. God wants you to be a high achiever. God wants you to do things that are God-pleasing and to be his co-servant, to help yourself, but more importantly to help yourself in order to help others. And you need to continue to do all the things. You need to follow the process in order to know if you're on track or off track, and to change your approach if you're off track. Anthony Robbins always uses the analogy of the plane. When a plane takes off, it's never on track. You know, a plane takes off from Sydney Mascot Airport there, and it goes up into the sky, and it's always getting either blown off track or it's moving in ways where it has to alter its direction to avoid other planes. And the pilot, or the autopilot, needs to continue to adjust where it's going in a zigzagging way so it can get to its final destination. I'll just go over here to get out of the way because we've got someone down there with a blower that's driving me crazy. So there you go, another wonderful opportunity to work with you, where we've been able to share a walk and talk this morning on this peaceful, quiet Sydney morning down here at Circular Quay. Here we have the dining room at the famous restaurant here. That's a beautiful there, table for two with the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge in the background. So there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, this table here is for about 24 people. Pretty cool. Not a bad place to have a catch up and a get together. But by the same token, you can also go upstairs, bring your own little table, bring your own little meal, and have the whole harbour, the whole Sydney harbour, and the experience to yourself. So we learned a lot of things today. That lesson on the bamboo tree that Anthony Robbins gave years ago is one that I'll never forget. But the most powerful one of all is to be the one where he talks about visualizing your partner and trying to figure out who their ideal partner is and to be that person. And this is where the I get some cognitive dissonance in this, because what it also kind of suggests is that we need to try and put on some masks and be somebody who we're not. And we all know that in love, in life, we've got to be our authentic self, and to be true to ourselves and not to be masquerading as somebody else in order to get our ideal partner. So hopefully the ideal partner that we were looking for, and I've found my ideal partner. We've been married for 38 years this year on the 26th of October, and hopefully we can get to enjoy many, many more years together. But it's important to be able to find your right partner, or to find a partner, because humans are are social in nature, and we need relationships. We need fruitful relationships, because it's through those fruitful relationships that we get consistency in our lives. It makes us feel peaceful. It gives us purpose. It enables us to share our life with somebody else and to create our own encyclopedia of experiences, of shared moments, and to enable one to live a beautiful life. So I guess one of the key messages from Anthony Robbins is that every person needs someone in their life. We need to have relationships. We need to have good relationships, not only with others, but also with ourselves and with God. And as we say, these things here give us a consistency, something that you can get up knowing is real, is yours, is something that is magical. And as my Uncle George also used to say many, many years ago, for every person there is another person. You just need to find them in your life. So I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of all that I've learnt over the years from Anthony Robbins. This is episode number 16. We're cracking on here, and I absolutely enjoy it, as you probably can attest. And I look forward to coming to you from another place with another message of empowerment from Anthony Robbins, because I am putting together this tribute to Anthony Robbins to try and capture, from my perspective, all the things that I've learnt over the years, from the 3 UPWs I've been to, from the few books of Anthony Robbins that I've read, to the tape series that I've listened to over and over and over again, and also from all the other books that I've covered on Jim's 5am Club over the past 3 years. So by all means, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to do hundreds and hundreds of more vlogs, as long as I'm of good physical, mental, emotional and spiritual health, and try and share all of my knowledge, all of my learnings, and to create a legacy of my own to pass on to my children, grandchildren, and anybody else who wants to learn and join me along the way. Take care, have a great day, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.